Hey leaders, we are in week 3 of our discussion of I'm in, and what does it look like to be in with God, and what does it look like to be in with your faith? And if you are in with God already, how can you be more in, and why is that important? And so we've been having that conversation the past couple of weeks, and something I find interesting is when it comes to being in with something or somebody, you usually want to know the details. You don't sign up for something you have no idea about, or you don't sign up for something that you have questions about. Sometimes, though, we don't ask questions because we don't want to seem like we don't have it all together. And here's the catch. That keeps us stuck out even when we want to be in. And this can also happen with church and faith as well. And I think the main topic of this discussion will be pretty interesting for us to wrestle with because it's a little bit about doubt in our questions about our faith. Do you ever have doubts when it comes to God or church? Have you ever wondered things like, is God real? Or is God good? You don't question that God's real, but you do sometimes question if he's good and if he notices you. We all have these questions from time to time. But the problem is, it feels weird to talk about these questions in church. I mean, what if God hears? Would God be mad? Or what if other church people hear? Would they kick you out? But maybe you found that ignoring doubts isn't exactly helpful either. It doesn't make them go away. In fact, sometimes ignoring them makes them louder and more annoying. Our church is a place that we work really hard for everybody to feel welcome and safe. And that safety includes any questions or doubts that our students have. And beyond that, I want you to know that doubts aren't necessarily bad either. Some of Jesus' closest friends had their doubts about Jesus, and he continued to be friends with them anyway. They continued to be friends with Jesus at the same time. The truth is, doubt is normal. It's not shameful or embarrassing. It's actually pretty common. One of Jesus' friends that became famous for doubting was a guy named Thomas. In fact, he got stuck with the nickname Doubting Thomas, but he was one of Jesus' disciples. He saw a lot of incredible things. But when Jesus came back to life after he was crucified and buried, Thomas had some serious questions. I mean, wouldn't you? I mean, rising from the dead isn't something that happens every day, so we would have some questions. And that's when Thomas spoke up. He said, "So the other disciples told Thomas, 'We've seen the Lord.' But Thomas said to them, 'Unless I see the nail marks in his hands and put my finger where the nails were, and I put my hand into his side, I will not believe.'" Thomas would have been thrilled to know that Jesus was alive, but there's just one problem. How does someone rise from the dead after 3 days? It's impossible. So Thomas is honest and he's truthful. He says, "Unless I see the marks and put my hand and fingers on the wounds, I won't believe." So you can imagine his surprise when Jesus shows up a few days later. All of a sudden, Jesus makes a show-stopping entrance. In his account of Jesus' life, John takes note, then says, even though the doors were locked, Jesus walked into the room and stood among them, which is one of the coolest things ever. He stood among them and said, "Peace be with you." Now, I'm not sure about you, but peace is probably not the primary feeling I'd be feeling in that situation because the guy who was dead is now alive and he just walked through the front door. And I would have had some serious just questions and oh my goodness moment in that moment. And as awesome as Jesus' entrance was, what happens next should get our full attention. It says in Scripture in John chapter 20, verse 27, "Then Jesus said to Thomas, 'Put your finger here. See my hands. Reach out your hand. Put them into my side. Stop doubting and believe.'" The interesting thing here is Jesus met Thomas right where he was. He knew the doubts Thomas had, but he wasn't mad at Thomas. Jesus went straight to Thomas and offered him encouragement. Like Thomas, our doubts are not obstacles that keep us from Jesus. In fact, Jesus can use our doubts and questions to build up our relationship with him and help us believe. So what does this mean for you and I in times when we struggle with questions or when we feel like we have a different understanding? We want to be in, but we have some questions. And I want to encourage you, don't let doubt keep you out. Here are some ways that we can help ourselves keep moving in the middle of our questions and are not understanding the full picture yet. 1, make a list of all the things that God's done in your life. 2, pray about it. Thomas was honest with his request, and we can be too. Number 3 is hang in there. Don't give up. Keep showing up here. Keep reading. Keep searching. Keep being honest. And the 4th thing is be patient. Give yourself and give other people around you space to process and ask questions, because in that processing, you discover some incredible things about who Jesus is. Now, at the end of the day, there's something in Thomas's story that I want us all to remember. Don't let doubt keep you out. Don't let it break your faith, but let it fuel you to draw you closer to Jesus. And maybe, just maybe in that moment, you can say, "I'm in," even if you still have questions. So that's a great discussion for us to have on Sunday. Thank you for everything that you do. We'll see you at 4:45 And please give me feedback. Let me know how that discussion's going. I think it's incredible that we can say, how can we be more in our faith and in our relationship with God together? So have a great week. We'll see you Sunday. Bye, guys.